A bakery? You can't be serious. My brother Anthony's laughter echoed through our parents' living room, cutting deeper than he probably intended. Around the dinner table, the rest of my family wore expressions ranging from amusement to pity. Let me get this straight, Anthony continued, wiping tears from his eyes. You're giving up your law degree to open a cupcake shop? Have you completely lost your mind, Maya? I gripped my fork tighter, pushing food around my plate. After 6 years of law school and a promising position at a top firm, I finally gathered the courage to tell my family about my dream. Their reaction was exactly what I feared. It's not just cupcakes, I said quietly. I have a full business plan. There's a gap in the market for high-end customizable. Sweetheart, Mom interrupted, using her concerned parent voice. Do you know how many small businesses fail in their first year, especially restaurants? 60%, my father chimed in, ever the accountant, and that's in normal times. In this economy, ready to see something amazing? Jack grinned, leading me to a test batch of our signature item, the custom crumb cupcake. These weren't just any cupcakes. Using our patented base and a modular approach to flavors and textures, customers could customize every aspect of their dessert through our app. The orders would be partially pre-prepped, then finished fresh in-store within minutes. Perfect crumb structure, Jack said, cutting one open. And the shelf life tests are even better than we hoped. These will revolutionize the industry. I took a bite, closing my eyes at the familiar perfect texture. We'd done it. After countless failed experiments and late nights, we created something truly unique. The first location opens in 6 weeks, I said. Anthony smirked. Hey, maybe she can bake cookies for my firm's corporate events. You know, once the novelty shop inevitably fails. I looked around the table at my successful family. Anthony, the hotshot corporate lawyer. Mom, the hospital administrator. Dad, the senior partner at his accounting firm. Even my younger sister Sophia was finishing her MBA at Wharton. None of them knew that I'd spent the last 3 years secretly developing recipes, studying business models, and saving every penny I could. They had no idea that while billing hours at the law firm, I'd been testing my creations at local farmers markets under a different name, building a loyal following. I've already signed a lease, I announced. The table fell silent. You what? Dad's fork clattered against his plate. A small space downtown. The previous tenant was a cafe, so most of the kitchen infrastructure is already in place. Tell me you didn't use your law school fund, Mom pleaded. No, I said. I used my own savings, and I got a small business loan. A loan? Anthony laughed again. Oh, this gets better and better. How much did you put yourself in debt for this little hobby? $150,000. The chaos that erupted was exactly what I'd expected. Dad started lecturing about fiscal responsibility. Mom began crying about throwing away my future. Sophia just shook her head, probably already calculating how long until I came begging for help. I'm opening in 6 weeks, I said firmly, standing up. You can either support me or not, but I'm doing this. I left them sitting there, their protests following me out the door. In my car, I finally let out the breath I'd been holding. Pulling out my phone, I checked the latest message from Jack, my best friend and secret weapon. Production test successful. New recipe scaling perfectly. When can you come see? I smiled, thinking of what my family didn't know. While they assumed I was just another burnout with a half-baked dream, Jack and I had spent months perfecting something revolutionary. Jack was a chemical engineer who'd left his job at a major food corporation over ethical disagreements. We'd met at a farmer's market where I was selling my early experiments, and he'd been fascinated by my unique approach to baking. Together, we developed a proprietary recipe base that solved the biggest problem in baked goods manufacturing: maintaining artisanal quality at scale. Our products could be partially pre-made, flash frozen, and finished fresh at individual locations, maintaining the taste and texture of just baked goods while allowing for efficient mass production. But that was just the beginning. The next morning, I met Jack at our small production facility, currently disguised as a storage unit on the outskirts of town. Inside, the space was immaculate, filled with professional-grade equipment we'd slowly acquired over the past year. Think we're ready? Jack's answer was interrupted by my phone buzzing. Another text from Anthony. Hey sis, I showed some colleagues your business plan. We had a good laugh. But seriously, it's not too late to come back to the firm. Your position is still open." I ignored it, focusing instead on the tablet displaying our production schedules, marketing plans, and the preliminary designs for our ordering app. We thought of everything, planned for every contingency. The next month and a half passed in a blur of preparations. My family's attempts to talk sense into me grew more frequent and desperate as opening day approached. Mom started sending me job listings. Dad offered to help me understand the numbers. Anthony alternated between mockery and condescension. I stopped attending family dinners. Finally, opening day arrived. I stood in front of my shop, Sweet Revolution, watching the morning sun reflect off the sleek, modern signage. Through the windows, I could see the minimalist interior we designed. Clean lines, digital ordering kiosks, and a transparent prep area where customers could watch their custom creations being finished. "Ready?" Jack appeared beside me, tablet in hand. Our app had gone live at midnight, and we'd been monitoring the numbers. "How many pre-orders?" He grinned. 212. Mostly from your farmers market regulars. Word spread fast once they realized you were behind this. I took a deep breath and unlocked the door. We'd hired and trained 3 staff members, all with specific experience in either baking or tech. The morning went smoothly, each custom order assembled and finished with precision. By noon, there was a line around the block. It turned out that people loved the idea of designing their own perfect dessert. The app made it easy, letting customers adjust everything from sweetness levels to texture preferences. Each order was assembled using our pre-prepped components, then finished fresh using our patented process. The local food blog showed up around 2 o'clock. By 3, their review was live. Sweet Revolution isn't just another bakery, it's the future of custom desserts. The ability to design your perfect treat, combined with genuinely exceptional quality, creates something entirely new in the industry. At 4, a reporter from the city paper arrived. At 5, a representative from a major shopping mall developer came in, asking about expansion opportunities. By closing time, we'd served over 500 customers and booked 3 wedding orders. The app showed another 100 pre-orders for tomorrow. I was wiping down counters when the bell above the door chimed. Looking up, I saw my entire family standing there, looking somewhat shell-shocked. "We drove by earlier," Mom said carefully. "Saw the line. Thought maybe you were giving something away for free." "Nope," I replied, continuing to clean. "Those were paying customers." Anthony wandered over to one of the ordering kiosks, tapping the screen. "This is actually pretty sophisticated. Did you have this custom made?" "I designed it," I said. "Jack handled the back-end programming." "Jack?" Sophia asked. "My business partner. The chemical engineer who helped develop our proprietary recipes and production methods." Dad picked up one of our detailed nutritional information cards. "These numbers, they're better than most commercial products. How did you manage that?" I straightened up, finally facing them directly, because we didn't just open a bakery. We developed an entirely new way of producing and delivering custom-baked goods. One that maintains artisanal quality while allowing for efficient scaling. Scaling. Anthony's eyebrows shot up. "You're planning to expand." "We have patents pending on both the recipe base and the production method. The app architecture is proprietary, and we've already had 3 inquiries about franchise opportunities." They stared at me as if seeing me for the first time. Gone was the little sister with the foolish dream. In her place stood someone who had seen an opportunity, developed an innovative solution, and executed it perfectly. "I suppose," Dad said slowly, "we may have been a bit hasty in our judgment." "A bit." I smiled. "You mocked me for months. Called this a hobby, told me I was throwing my life away." "We were wrong," Mom admitted. "This is impressive." I checked the tablet on the counter. Tomorrow's pre-orders just hit 200. I should go help prep for morning production. I started walking toward the kitchen, then paused. "Oh, and Anthony, about that offer to bake for your firm's events. Our corporate catering minimum is $5,000. You can book through the app." The look on his face was priceless. As they left, I heard Sophia ask, "Did anyone else know she was capable of something like this?" I smiled, thinking of the expansion plans already in motion. They had no idea what was coming next. 3 months after opening day, I sat in my office above the original Sweet Revolution location, reviewing expansion proposals. The shop's success had exceeded even our optimistic projections. each week brought new inquiries from potential franchisees and investors. Jack burst in, tablet in hand. "You need to see this." He turned the screen toward me. It was an article in Forbes. Sweet Revolution. How a small bakery is disrupting the $50 billion dessert industry. "They're calling us the Apple of bakeries," he grinned. The combination of tech and traditional baking really caught their attention. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Anthony's name flashed on the screen, the first contact from my family in weeks. I let it go to voicemail. "Your family's still giving you the cold shoulder?" Jack asked. "More like strategic silence," I replied. "They're waiting to see if this is real success or just a flash in the pan." As if on cue, my email pinged. A message from Sophia. "Hey sis, some of my Wharton professors are really interested in Sweet Revolution's business model. Would you be willing to speak to my entrepreneurship class? Also, I have some ideas about expansion strategy." I closed the email without responding. Now that success was obvious, everyone had ideas about my business. The truth was, we were already executing our expansion plan. The patents for our recipe base and production method had been approved. Our app had over 100,000 downloads. And we just signed leases for 3 new locations in premium shopping districts. But scaling wasn't simple. Our biggest challenge was maintaining quality while growing rapidly. Each new location needed specialized equipment and extensively trained staff. We couldn't just franchise to anyone with capital. They needed to understand and commit to our vision of revolutionizing the industry. The mall developer called again. Jack said, pulling up another email. "They're offering premium locations in 15 cities, rent-free for the first year." I nodded. "Schedule the meeting. But first, we need to deal with something else." I turned my laptop around to show him the trademark application I just discovered. Someone had tried to register Sweet Revolution in 3 neighboring states. The applicant? Revolution Desserts LLC, owned by none other than my brother Anthony. "Your own brother tried to steal your trademark?" Jack was incredulous. "Tried and failed," I smiled. "I registered everything nationwide before we even opened. Anthony may be a corporate lawyer, but he underestimated how thoroughly I protect our intellectual property." My phone buzzed again. Anthony calling for the 3rd time today. This time I answered. "Hey sis," his voice was artificially casual. "Been trying to reach you. Listen, some colleagues and I have a business proposition." "Would this proposition involve the trademark applications you just filed?" I interrupted. A pause. "Ah, you saw those. Look, I was just trying to protect your interests in those markets. Maybe we could discuss a partnership. My firm has extensive experience in franchise law, and with my connections, the applications have been rejected." I cut in. "And Anthony? If you ever try something like this again, I'll have my lawyers contact your firm's ethics board." I hung up, feeling a mixture of anger and satisfaction. The same brother who'd laughed at my dream was now trying to profit from its success. The next few months were a whirlwind of controlled expansion. We opened 5 new locations, each an immediate success. Our production facility, no longer hidden in a storage unit, now occupied a state-of-the-art building outside the city. The media attention grew. Business magazines praised our innovative approach. Tech blogs raved about our app's user experience. Food critics wrote glowing reviews of our products. Then came the morning I'd been both expecting and dreading. My parents showed up at the original store just before opening. "Honey," Mom started, her voice gentle, "we've been doing some thinking. Your father and I have significant savings and we'd like to invest in Sweet Revolution's expansion." Dad pulled out a folder. "I've run the numbers. With proper capitalization, you could expand much faster. We're prepared to offer." "No," I said firmly. They stared at me, confused. "But we're trying to help," Mom protested. "Now you want to help? Where was this help when I was working 18-hour days to launch? Where was your support when I was testing recipes at midnight after billing hours at the law firm?" "We were worried about you," Dad said. "We didn't want you to fail." "No," I corrected him. "You didn't want to be associated with my failure. There's a difference." I walked them through the store, showing them the sophisticated systems we developed, the custom ordering kiosks, the efficient production line, the real-time inventory management. Sweet Revolution isn't just successful, I explained. We're revolutionizing an industry. Last month's revenue across all locations was $8.2 million. We're projecting over $90 million in sales next year. Their jaws dropped at the numbers. We don't need investment, I continued. We're expanding using our own profits. Every decision, every location, every product, it's all carefully planned and executed according to our vision. Your vision, Mom said softly. We never really saw it, did we? No, I agreed. You were too busy telling me what I couldn't do to see what I was actually doing. Later that day, I had another visitor, Sophia. I've been studying Sweet Revolution in my advanced entrepreneurship seminar, she said. What you've built here, it's incredible. The professors are calling it a perfect case study in disruptive innovation. I looked at my younger sister, seeing real admiration in her eyes for the first time. Want to know the secret? I asked. She nodded eagerly. Everyone told me to think smaller, to be practical, to not take risks. I succeeded because I didn't listen. The next year brought explosive growth. We opened 20 new locations across the country. Our app hit 1 million downloads. Sweet Revolution became a case study at leading business schools, including Wharton, where Sophia proudly presented my story to her classmates. Anthony eventually apologized for the trademark incident, though he still occasionally sends business proposals that I politely decline. Mom and Dad finally stopped sending job listings. Instead, they became our most enthusiastic customers, writing to friends about their daughter's innovative vision. 5 years after that first mocking family dinner, I stood on stage at the National Business Innovation Awards, accepting Entrepreneur of the Year. Jack stood beside me as we described how a small bakery had grown into a $90 million enterprise that changed an industry. In the audience, I spotted my family, all of them. They were beaming with pride, though I noted a hint of shame in their expressions too. Pride in what I'd accomplished, shame in how they dismissed my dreams. The secret to success, I said in my acceptance speech, isn't just having a good idea. It's having the courage to pursue that idea even when everyone tells you it's impossible. Sometimes the people closest to you will be the ones who doubt you most. Prove them wrong. Afterward, at the reception, Anthony approached me looking somewhat sheepish. Remember when I offered to let you bake cookies for my firm's events? He asked. I smiled. I do. In fact, I just signed a national corporate catering contract with your firm's parent company. $2 million annually. His face was priceless. Today, Sweet Revolution has over 100 locations nationwide. Our production methods have set new industry standards. The app has become a case study in digital innovation. But my favorite part? Every morning, I still go into the original store before opening. I wipe down counters, check inventory, and remember that day my family laughed at my little hobby. The shop still displays my first business plan, the one they'd mocked, next to last year's financial statements. It's a reminder that sometimes the best revenge isn't proving others wrong. It's proving yourself right. The annual Thompson family dinner was in full swing when my sister Charlotte dropped her bombshell. We're buying the Madison estate, she announced, beaming at our assembled family. Isn't it exciting? I nearly choked on my wine. The Madison estate was a local landmark, a sprawling Victorian mansion set on 20 acres of prime real estate. Last I'd heard, it was listed for well over $5 million. That's wonderful, darling. Our mother gushed, while our father nodded approvingly, though it will need quite a bit of renovation to meet your standards. Charlotte's husband Greg puffed up with pride. We've already got the architects drawing up plans. Indoor pool, home theater, the works. It's going to be perfect for entertaining. I stayed quiet, pushing food around my plate as everyone congratulated them. At 35, I was the oldest of the Thompson children, but often felt like an outsider at these gatherings. While my siblings have followed our parents into law or medicine, I'd chosen to become a software engineer. A very successful one, though my family seemed to view my career as some sort of hobby. Of course, Charlotte continued, her eyes finding mine across the table. We'll need some help with the down payment. The renovations alone will cost a small fortune. And there it was. I've been waiting for the real reason behind this elaborate announcement at a family dinner. Rebecca, my mother turned to me with that familiar expectant look. You've done so well with your little computer business. Surely you can help your sister achieve her dreams? My little computer business had made me a millionaire by 30. For the past 5 years, I'd been the family's unofficial bank, helping with down payments, college tuition, business ventures, and endless temporary loans that never seemed to get repaid. How much? I asked, though I already knew it would be substantial. $2 million, Charlotte said smoothly, plus maybe another million for the renovations. But it's an investment, really. Property like this only appreciates. The table fell silent, all eyes on me. I could feel the weight of their expectations, their assumption that of course I would agree. After all, I always had before. I'll think about it, I said quietly. Think about it? Charlotte's perfectly plucked eyebrows shot up. Becca, we need to move quickly. There are other buyers interested. Then maybe you should look at something more within your budget. The words slipped out before I could stop them. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. My mother's face tightened in that way that always preceded a guilt trip. Rebecca, she began, after everything we've done for you. Everything you've done for me? I cut her off, surprising myself. What exactly would that be? We supported your unconventional career choice, my father interjected, when you decided not to go to law school. You mean when I turned down the law school you chosen for me and built my own successful company instead? The company that's been funding this family's lifestyle for the past 5 years? Charlotte's husband Greg leaned forward. Now see here, those were loans. Really? I pulled out my phone, opened a spreadsheet I'd been maintaining. Should we go through them? The $100,000 for your failed restaurant venture? The $250,000 for Jeremy's gambling debts? I nodded toward our youngest brother, who suddenly seemed very interested in his plate. The $50,000 for Mom's spa retreat business that never opened. That's different, Charlotte protested. This is about family, about building a legacy. I looked around the table at my family, all successful professionals on paper, all living well beyond their means with my money as a safety net, all while treating me as somehow lesser because I'd chosen a different path. You want to talk about legacy, I said softly. Let's talk about how none of those loans were ever repaid. About how every time I ask about repayment, I'm told that family doesn't keep score. About how I'm the family disappointment except when someone needs money. You're being dramatic, my mother sighed. This is what family does. We help each other. No, this is what I do. I help everyone else while being treated like an ATM with hurt feelings. I stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. The noise seemed to echo in a sudden silence. Rebecca, sit down, my father commanded, using his courtroom voice. We're not finished discussing this. Actually, we are. I grabbed my purse, started toward the door. I have an early meeting tomorrow. This is exactly why you're still single, Charlotte called after me. So dramatic, so self-centered. No wonder. I slammed the door on the rest of her sentence. Driving home to my downtown apartment, I thought about the other reason I'd been reluctant to attend tonight's dinner. The certified letter I'd received yesterday sat unopened on my kitchen counter, though I knew what it contained. I'd spent the past 6 months working with my lawyers and financial advisors, carefully documenting every loan my family had taken. The total was staggering. Over $4 million in the past 5 years alone. Money that had funded their lifestyle while they simultaneously looked down on my career choices. The letter contained official notice that I was calling in all the loans. Every penny, with interest, due within 30 days. My lawyers had assured me the documents were ironclad. Each loan had been properly recorded, with terms and repayment schedules that my family had simply ignored. But that wasn't all. There was another document, one that would make Charlotte's dream home impossible even if she somehow found another source of funding. I'd bought the Madison estate last week. The realtor's call had come right after Charlotte's text about the important family announcement at dinner. The price had been steep, but sometimes karma needed a little help. My phone started buzzing as I parked in my building's garage. First Charlotte, then my mother, finally my father. I ignored them all, taking the elevator to my penthouse apartment. Oscar, my Maine Coon cat, greeted me with his usual regal indifference. I scratched behind his ears, kicked off my heels, and opened the letter. Everything was in order. Tomorrow morning, my family would each receive their own certified letters, detailing exactly how much they owed and the consequences of non-payment. They would also learn about the Madison estate's new owner. But that wasn't even the best part. I opened my laptop, pulled up the plans I'd been working on with a different set of architects. The Madison estate wouldn't be becoming another wealthy family's showcase home. It was about to become the city's newest children's hospital, I'd already signed the paperwork donating the property and pledging an additional $3 million for the construction. The public announcement was scheduled for next week, complete with a press conference and local media coverage. My phone buzzed again. A text from Charlotte. "We need to talk about this right now. Mom is in tears. How could you embarrass us like this?" I smiled, thinking about the hospital plans, about karma, about the look on their faces when they realized exactly what their dream home would become. "Sorry," I texted back. "I have an investment to focus on, one that actually matters." Part 2. The next morning, I woke to 37 missed calls and over 50 text messages. My family had apparently been up all night discussing my betrayal in their group chat, which I'd muted years ago. I ignored them all, made my coffee, and got ready for what I knew would be an interesting day. The certified letters would be arriving at their homes and offices this morning. I timed everything carefully: the loan recalls, the hospital announcement, the press coverage. Years of being treated as the family disappointment had taught me the value of strategic planning. My phone rang again as I was feeding Oscar. "Charlotte, again." This time I answered. "What do you need $4 million? She screamed without preamble. "Have you lost your mind?" "Good morning to you too," I replied calmly. "I see you got your letter." "This is ridiculous. You can't just demand repayment like this. We had an understanding." "No, you had an assumption. I have contracts, signed by each of you, specifying repayment terms that you've all ignored. My lawyers say they're quite enforceable." There was a moment of shocked silence, then, "Lawyers? You're bringing lawyers into a family matter." Family matters stopped being relevant when you all treated me like a convenient ATM while mocking my career choices. "That's not," she started, but I cut her off. "Tell me, Charlotte, how many times in the past 5 years have you referred to my work as my little computer hobby? How often have you implied that I'm not a real professional like the rest of you? Yet whose money funded your husband's failed restaurant? Your spa trips? Your luxury car?" "We're your family," she said, her voice smaller now. "We're supposed to help each other." "No, I'm supposed to help everyone else while being treated like an embarrassment." "Well, guess what? This embarrassment just bought your dream house." Another shocked silence. "What?" "The Madison estate. I bought it last week. But don't worry, you'll love what I'm doing with it." I ended the call before she could respond, just as my assistant texted to remind me about the press conference. Perfect timing. The local news crews were already setting up when I arrived at the Madison estate. I'd chosen to hold the announcement on the front lawn, with a magnificent Victorian mansion as a backdrop. The hospital architects had brought renderings of how the property would be transformed. The mansion renovated into administrative offices and family accommodation, new medical wings extending gracefully from either side, the grounds turned into healing gardens. I was reviewing my speech when I heard the commotion at the security checkpoint. My entire family had arrived, led by my father in full courtroom battle mode. "That's my daughter," he was telling the security guard. "We need to speak with her immediately." I nodded to let them through. Let them see this. Let them understand exactly what their greed had cost them. "Rebecca," my father began as they approached, "this has gone far enough. You're obviously having some kind of breakdown." "Ladies and gentlemen," the hospital CEO's voice boomed through the PA system, cutting him off. "Thank you all for coming. We're here today to announce an extraordinary gift to our community." My family stood frozen as the announcement unfolded. The CEO detailed the plans for the new children's hospital, praised my generous donation of both the property and additional funding, invited other community leaders to contribute to this worthy cause. Charlotte's face had gone pale as she stared at the architectural renderings. "You're turning it into a hospital?" But our plans." "Yes," I said quietly. "Your plans for another showcase mansion versus my plans for a facility that will help thousands of sick children. I wonder which one history will remember." "You can't do this," my mother whispered. "What will people think?" "They'll think your daughter did something meaningful with her money instead of bankrolling her family's extravagance." Reporters were approaching now, cameras rolling. My father tried to step in front of me, but I moved smoothly around him to the podium. As a successful technology entrepreneur, I began, looking directly into the cameras. "I've been blessed with the means to make a difference. This children's hospital isn't just about providing medical care. It's about creating hope, supporting families during their darkest hours, and building a legacy that truly matters." The press conference went perfectly. Local media ate up the story of a homegrown tech success giving back to her community. The hospital board presented preliminary plans that had the reporters scribbling enthusiastically in their notebooks. Through it all, my family stood to the side, their expressions a mix of shock, anger, and finally, dawning comprehension. When the cameras stopped rolling, Charlotte approached me first. "What about our loans?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "They're due in 30 days, as the letter states. I suggest you all start liquidating assets." "But that's impossible," Jeremy protested. "None of us have that kind of money lying around." "Really? What about all those investments the loans were supposedly for? The business ventures? The property deals?" They exchanged guilty looks. We all knew those investments had never existed. The money had gone to maintain their lavish lifestyles while they lived beyond their means. "I'll give you an alternative," I said, watching their faces light up with hope. "The hospital board is creating a scholarship program for medical students who commit to working here after graduation. Pledge your repayments to that fund instead, and I'll waive the interest." "A scholarship program?" My mother scoffed. "That's hardly the same as." "As what?" I cut in. "As another mansion. Another failed business. This way, your debt actually helps people instead of enabling more waste." My father studied me with new eyes. "You've thought this through." "I had plenty of time. Years of watching you all take advantage while treating me like a disappointment tends to inspire careful planning." One by one, they agreed to the scholarship arrangement, not out of generosity. We all knew that. But because it was their only viable option. My lawyers had made sure the loan documents were ironclad, and none of them could afford the repayments otherwise. The local paper ran a glowing story about the hospital project the next day. Donations started pouring in from other community members inspired by the example. My family's social circle buzzed with talk about their generous daughter/sister who was revolutionizing pediatric care in the city. Charlotte called a week later, her voice lacking its usual imperial tone. "The contractors you recommended for the hospital," she said hesitantly. Do they ever need software systems? Greg's restaurant equipment is being auctioned next week, and we need to find new revenue streams." I smiled, remembering all the times she dismissed my tech career. "Send me your proposal. If it's good, I'll pass it along." "Thank you," she said quietly. "And Rebecca, I'm sorry, we all are. We just got so used to treating me like an ATM while pretending I was a failure." "Yes," she swallowed audibly. "Seeing you up there, announcing the hospital. You're not who we thought you were." "No," I agreed. "I'm who I always was. You just never bothered to notice." The hospital project broke ground 3 months later. My family attended the ceremony, not in the front row as they would have once assumed, but mixed in with the other community supporters. I saw them wince when the hospital board chairman praised my business acumen and technical innovations that had made my success possible. The scholarship program, funded by their repayments, would support 5 medical students in its first year. The press loved that detail, 3 generations of future doctors enabled by one family's generosity. They didn't need to know it was generosity enforced by legal documents and karmic justice. A year later, I stood in what had once been the Madison Estates Grand Ballroom, now transformed into a state-of-the-art pediatric treatment center. Children's artwork decorated the walls that Charlotte had planned to adorn with expensive wallpaper. The grounds where Greg had envisioned his putting green now held healing gardens where young patients could feel the sun on their faces. My phone buzzed, a text from Charlotte. Her software company, started with the restaurant auction money and my contractor introductions, had just landed its first major client. "Thank you," she wrote, "for everything, even the hard lessons. I thought about karma, about legacies, about the difference between having money and doing something meaningful with it, about family ties that had to break before they could be rebuilt into something healthier." "You're welcome," I texted back. Some investments pay off in ways we never expect. Standing there in the hospital that had once been someone's dream mansion, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't about hurting those who hurt you. Sometimes it's about building something so undeniably good that they're forced to recognize their own pettiness in its shadow.